I'm uber Scottish when I'm not in Scotland.
I think I'm more Scottish, but even though I don't sound Scottish at all.
Not at all.
I think kind of being out of Scotland kind of makes you cling to that identity slightly more.
I think the opposite. I don't think of myself as Scottish here at all.
Oh, really?
I mean, I haven't met any other Scottish people apart from Callum once or twice.
Is it because I make you feel less Scottish because I'm so Scottish?
I forget about it until someone asks me. Quite often people ask you if you're Irish, and I'm quite happy with that, but as long as people don't mention the E word.
I think you feel more European, because I'm in an international women's group here, and it's quite interesting. The Europeans are definitely Bond, but I wouldn't say there's not a lot of English or Scottish. It's mostly.
I mean, that's expat culture, right? You're someone else in a country. You're not local, therefore you're bonded to all these people just by not being.
Yeah, but I think there's like a connection in terms of humour and reference points. You know, that there is probably a general European sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's why I couldn't really consider myself as Scottish, even though I don't have the accent and I haven't lived there for a little while. Is because your reference points and your sense of humour and what you grew up with and the language you understand is all Scottish. And you know, my family's back there, so you go back quite regularly. So that's kind of where that kind of identity comes from, I guess.
When you meet other Scots, there's a kind of non-verbal communication. Well, there's a verbal communication, of course, but there's non-verbal as well. You can instantly, or more or less instantly, tell which side of the country they're from. You can tell quite a lot about their backgrounds and so on, just by the way they look, speak, whatever. And that you don't get that when you're mixing with other people, when you're non-Scots, when you're abroad. We're not known for too many bad things. Our football fans behave well when they're overseas, and but generally quite well liked, so there's no immediate prejudices. Actually, I think it's because most people aren't very sure what Scotland is.
You can
so
see
they play it safe.
You can get the glazed look when you're like, yeah, I'm from Scotland, and people are like, oh, okay, that's good.
Or you get the super excited one.
Yeah.
Oh, whiskey.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's a definite reaction when people hear you're Scottish, like, oh, you can drink everyone under the table.
Dry sense of humour, maybe? I mean, you're right. I don't know if it's a British Isles thing. The Irish, the Scots, everybody. There is a kind of humour that transcends all those countries.
Yep, there is. Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think the Scots can also be slightly pessimistic about life, which often brings a lot of humour to it, but you know, it is a slightly pessimistic outlook on life, and it's always going to rain, and I think that's
because it's true.
Yeah, it is true.
It is always about to rain.
It's always going to rain.
And that's the thing. Another thing about being abroad is the climate. I mean, it's probably one of the main things that makes me think twice about going back.
Definitely.
It's just so comfortable here.
We wouldn't be dressed like this in Scotland, would we?
Absolutely not.
I don't want to get spiritual here, but I do feel at home when I'm in the Highlands. I think there's
I agree.
Yeah,
definitely agree.
But I do definitely feel a sense of belonging.
I think there's just a general Scottishness that you miss, and when you're back there, you kind of feel you're back in there.
How long does it take you to get used to it again when you go back?
I don't know. I'm just so used to kind of changing where I live and everything that I think you quite quickly get back into the flow of things. And because I'm lucky, I get to go back fairly regularly. I don't get that kind of reverse culture shock of going back into it. But it's very, very quickly that the weather starts to get me down. Within about half an hour, I'm a bit fed up with the rain.
And for me, it's the lack of light.
Yeah.
It's not so much the cold, but it's the lack of light.
Christmas is a bit of a hard time.
But then
trying to get out of your bed at 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
God.
I feel perfectly at home here, and I hate to say it, but I don't miss Scotland. Apart from friends and family.
Get out.
I only go back because I feel I have to, you know, because you have to see family. I'd rather spend my holidays.
You have to see family. It's not coming out.
You want to see family.
But you know, you want to see family. But here, I'd rather spend my time off travelling around this region.
If you stay away for a long period, I think the more romantic the idea of Scotland becomes.
Yeah.
You sort of can go back.
Reality
I
strikes.
hit a nightclub and there's some guy with gelled hair and an earring.
Oh, the horror.
Oh.
Horror.
This is not my little Brigadier and Braveheart image that I nurtured for the last 6 years.
I was going. Well, in terms of going back, I mean, I'm not sure. All my family's there, so I'll always go back, and I've got a real love for Glasgow and a real affinity there. But for me, there's not a huge amount of opportunities in terms of jobs in the development sector. That's not really an industry that's a big part of Scottish life. So for me, I don't really see my future there. Definitely not in the next 5-10 years. And I mean, there's a lot of the world that you want to see.
If I could ever afford a house,
Yeah.
mortgage rates.
Yeah, we'll go back. I'll definitely go back. I would like to see a more self-confident country, one where people are kind of more happy in themselves and feel confident about the future, and that there's some hope. Isn't that true?
Mm.
I really agree with that as well. I think that's.
Well, the education system would have to change for that to happen, I think.
But I actually really like the Scottish education system. Like in comparison to the English one, I think it's a really strong system.
You think it builds confidence in kids?
I don't think a lot of education systems do that. I don't think that's necessarily a Scottish thing. I think actually, I mean, for me, growing up there, the Scottish education system meant that I could leave school at 16 with all my qualifications and get on and do what I wanted with my life. So for me, actually really helped me in a lot of ways, because I was done with school. I was, wasn't interested anymore, and I could then go off and still had the qualifications to go to uni. So in that way, I think it's very, very strong, and in other ways, definitely.
I probably feel the same way about the sentiment you're getting at.
I think just looking back at my own schooling, you were never no one expected very much of you, so there was a tendency to fulfil those expectations, and I think people should be young people's confidence should be built up, and people should be encouraged to think big thinks.
Absolutely. I
That's
think the
it.
world should be this big.
Yeah.
It's not this big.
Yeah.
I think I remember when I went to school a little after you. But,
Yes.
I remember
More
languages.
irony.
You know that whole thing with languages. I think it was an article came out recently where all the ambassadors in Edinburgh, or the consulates, you read about this? Wrote a letter to the First Minister saying that they were very concerned about the cuts, and they cut out all the these teachers that teach you have French and Spanish and these students that come across and place in schools.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a kid,
Teachers.
there was I remember 2 of these French students came across. I mean, we got to see them like once a month for like an hour, and it was just we learned no French. They basically spoke English to us most of the time, but it was interesting. It was different. There was somebody in a different accent. You kind of thought, well, there's a place out there where there's things to be explored, and I think maybe. Kind of follow your sentiments that we could be doing more, not so specifically on languages, although we need to do a lot on that wider vision of.
I think kind of outside of your main cities, it can get quite insular. So the town I grew up in, Dumbarton, it was very you just didn't know that there was a world out there. It was all about Dumbarton, or maybe you went to London if you were a bit glam.
It is quite inward looking. You know,
Yeah.
when you're looking back when you're looking from outside, and I mean, I don't really read the Scottish news much, or follow it on the web at all. I look at UK news and world news, but I'll occasionally look, but that's it. And when I do look, it's kind of disappointing. Another murder in Glasgow, and that's it.
Really, I disagree. But I'm getting a sense of a much more positive country.
Well, that's true. The bits
I mean,
that's true.
The
That's
whole
true.
thing about the renewables, rightly or wrongly, I don't know the details, but gee, let's have a go.
That's true, actually.
Targets, let's have a go. There's a positive sense. Rightly or wrongly, whether you're in favour of the message or not.
Yeah.
The recent government's kind of got a lot of credit from a lot of people just for giving a much more positive message.
Now that I think about it, you're right.
I follow the Herald and the Scotsman. I try and keep up to date news. It's all being dominated by this big political issue at the moment, which I think is all. Hopefully, it sounds like a list of bands. Devo, Max, and Indie Light. I thought it was like the top 10 or whatever, but I think it's a much more positive country, seeking answers in a modern era.
Yeah.
And it's good that we can talk about all these variations of our relationship, not only with the countries in the islands, but also in the broader world. The fact that we can do it in a democratic environment. I mean, we're lucky in Zambia. We live in a place. So he looks Scottish. Look at that! It's a giant Scottie.
It is.
Oh my God! What kind of dog is this? Oh, buddy.